Carnivore MD versus Dr. Idz. It's very hard to scroll through social media and not come across these two, especially if you're looking for healthcare topics. I'm Dr. Hassan. I'm a board-certified trauma anesthesiologist. Who do I support? Where do I fall on the spectrum? You might be surprised by the end. Before we get started, if you guys can, I'm a full-time physician. I do my best to record these videos in my spare time. If you can like and subscribe, and please leave a comment below, I'd really appreciate it. Now, for those who don't know, Carnivore MD, Dr. Paul Saladino, he prides himself on approaching medicine with a holistic approach. He really believes in the food that you eat, treating the medical conditions that you have. Dr. Idz prides himself on being more of a scientist, looking at the actual hard facts, the numbers, the research studies. As you can see, these two go at it pretty often. Let's take a listen.
Fake health foods, oatmeal. You think this is the best breakfast ever. This is not the breakfast of champions.
It can reduce the absorption of certain minerals like iron and zinc. He conveniently leaves out that oats contain lots of nutrients like iron and zinc. So in reality, it's not depleting anything. Secondly, you might want to look into the benefits of phytic acid, as it plays an important role in reducing oxidative stress, renal stone formation, and even cancer prevalence. But let's just forget about specific compounds, because if you want to understand how oats impact your health, then you need to look at the research on people consuming actual oats.
Dr. Paul Saladino, also known as Carnivore MD, prides himself on approaching medicine with a holistic approach. He really believes that the food that you eat impacts the conditions that you have. He is a proponent of drinking raw milk, also a proponent of eating beef, liver, heart, organs, those kind of things. Dr. Idz, on the other hand, prides himself on debunking a lot of myths that are present on social media. He does the research, he does the legwork, and he presents studies that kind of prove a lot of social media myths to be false. Now, full disclosure, I've used information from both. I've used information from Paul Saladino, the Carnivore MD. I've used information from Dr. Idz. Now, where do I stand on the issue? Well, before I tell you, I think the biggest thing that gets missed anytime you scroll through social media and anytime you look at a study and anytime you listen to someone's point of view is that they're often trying to sell you something. Now let's take a step back. When you see a research study that says X, Y, and Z is better for you while A, B, and C is not, 10, 15 years ago, it might have been the opposite. When you see a study presented on social media, especially in a 90-second clip, you don't really get the essence of why that study was conducted, who's funding the study, and what the purpose of the study was. As altruistic as we think we are as humans, 98, 99% of all medical studies are funded with a purpose. There's very few medical studies out there that are to benefit humanity. I talk about this on my channel a lot. Medicine is a business. It's basically a commodity. We're trying to sell you something. When you go into a hospital, you get a bunch of procedures that are dictated by certain studies that have come out in the past. Those procedures, tests, x-rays probably are necessary, but there's also a financial component of it, which I need you to understand, especially because you're watching my video because you want to understand the nuances of medicine a little bit deeper. There's usually a financial component to having a certain medication become the stalwart of the American College of Cardiology, for the American College of Pediatrics, for the American College of OBGYN. Doesn't matter the field. If a medicine or a procedure becomes the standard of care, that's big bucks. We're talking in the billions and billions of dollars. So more often than not, a lot of medical guidelines, a lot of medical practices are basically, controlled by people upstairs. As altruistic as doctors and a lot of my colleagues think they are, a lot of medicine is dictated by insurance companies, by big pharma, by a lot of different hands in the pot. The reason I bring this up is because Paul and Idris both are trying to sell you something. Idris, Dr. Idz, has a course on trying to spot fake information on social media. He also has a book he just published, which I'm not saying is the reason why he does what he does. There's always a financial component of it. Paul Saladino, Carnivore MD, also has his own supplements and things like that he wants to sell you. Both of these two fine physicians are also part of the giant business of medicine. And that's a point that I harp on a lot, especially on my channel, my social media, that everybody has to understand. Medicine is a business. It doesn't matter if you see an orthopedic surgeon or a neurosurgeon, they're probably going to prescribe surgery for you. It doesn't matter if you see a physical therapist or a rehab doctor, they're probably going to prescribe you therapy. If you see a cardiologist, they'll prescribe you cardiology drugs. If you see any type of physician or nurse practitioner or any healthcare worker, for the most part, they're trying to sell you something even if they don't know it themselves. Now, like I said earlier, I take information from everybody. I'm not immune to this myself. I have sponsorships and brand deals on my social media pages you can see anytime you want. And the reason for that is because it's hard to do these things altruistically without any sort of financial incentive. And I'll be frank and honest with you, but the difference between me and these guys and a lot of other physicians out there is that they don't see the bigger cog in the wheel that they're part of. The reality is that everybody, including doctors, are trying to sell you something, and that's part of the big capitalistic society that we live in. Now, like I said earlier, I take information from everybody. I kind of parse through the information and figure out what's the best, what makes the most sense, when you break it down to a basic level. For example, an instance that exemplifies what I'm talking about, Paul is very adamant that oatmeal is trash, and Idz is very adamant that oatmeal is important. Let me tell you how I view the situation. If it wasn't for Paul, I wouldn't have known about glyphosate. Glyphosate, bad for you. Oatmeal, probably good for you. You don't have to cut oatmeal out of your diet completely because oatmeal is important in lowering cholesterol, increasing fiber, increasing poop going through your bowels, and, decreased chance of cancer, hemorrhoids, all those kind of things. But for me, it was very important that if I eat a lot of red meat, I need to be able to filter out a lot of the cholesterol that builds up from eating red meat. I found oatmeal that is glyphosate free. That's an example how you can take ideas from both individuals, bring them together and form your own opinion. There's certain situations where I agree with Dr. Idz. There's also certain situations where I agree with Carnivore MD. I'll tell you, I got a lot of my diet advice from Carnivore MD. I also got a lot of my oatmeal and cholesterol lowering advice from Dr. Idz. I also got a lot of information from Huberman. I got a lot of information from other podcasts that I listen to. What I would say for you, the viewer of my videos, is trust somebody that can find the middle ground. Because a lot of the times on social media, the videos that go viral are extreme on one end or the other. It's not only related to medical videos, it's related to all sorts of videos. The reason why Mr. Beast does so well is because he creates these insane scenarios that nobody could even imagine it was possible in a video, and he gets millions and millions of views. And it's probably the same with these two. They both wholeheartedly believe they're doing the best for you. But unfortunately, in today's society, you have to be on one extreme or the other to get your voice out or get heard or get respected or get the, upswell of ground support. So where do I fall on this entire issue? Well, I think, honestly speaking, you have to take information from both. You have to be able to think about your health logically. I think that you, the viewer of this video, should take your own health into your own hands. You should be able to find a middle ground, understand what both people are trying to say, and adapt it to your own health. Paul and Idris are both very healthy individuals. Their health tips might not apply to you, but you can find good information in both. Thinking about eating animal meat versus plant-based meat, it probably makes sense that animal meat is more nutritious, more healthy. It comes from organic sources. Also, on the other hand, eating too much red meat can probably lead to colon cancer, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, all those kind of things too. So you have to find some common middle ground. I've done both. I've gone vegan, I've gone carnivore. I understand that the best optimum way to live life is probably right in the middle, just the way God designed us, to be an omnivore. So the next time you're perplexed as to what you should do and shouldn't do, find somebody that's kind of in the middle that can kind of tell you, this sounds like it probably makes sense and this sounds like it's probably BS. This is probably where you should be, somewhere in the middle, but adapt it to your own needs. Just like anything else in the world, whether it's your health, whether it's geopolitics, whether it's the government, whether it's climate change, take everything you hear with a grain of salt and try to understand who's funding what and what's the monetary incentive. And take everything you hear with a grain of salt because nobody is ever 100% correct. I love you guys. I'll see you on the next one. Do me a favor, drop me a comment below. Tell me who you support, Dr. Idz or Dr. Paul Saladino, Carnivore MD. I love you guys. I'll see you on the next one.